Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Public Works Committee for March 4th, 2025. And we're calling the meeting to order at 7:03. First, I'd like to make a roll call. Looks like we have Nora Najelski-Eitner, Barbara Smith, Darlene Young, and Anne, and there she is. Okay, and we also have with the Common Council, Mr. Sneed. Okay.
Jim, I'm here too. Can you see me? It's Heather.
Yes, I got you.
Okay.
Did I mention that? Heather Dunn is here also, and it looks like the only person absent is Dewan Wiggins. Okay. First order of business is we have a public hearing. This public hearing is for naming or the honorary naming of the portion of the Woodward Avenue from South Main Street to Burritt Avenue to be named named for the Reverend Ramon Figueroa Way. This public hearing shall be conducted in order to hear all the parties that are interested in commenting on the proposed honorary street naming, and to take such action as said on naming of that committee may deem advisable. That this committee may deem advisable. So I'd like to turn it over. Who do we have is going to speak? I think they're with you, Vanessa.
That's correct. Good evening, everybody. So we have 4 people here that would like to speak on behalf of the naming of the street. So I'll let them talk, and so please state your name. And you have 3 minutes, right, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you for having us. My name is Louis A. Rivera. I'm the senior pastor of the Pentecostal Church, John 3:16, and we really appreciate the fact that you guys are willing to have this public hearing regarding to the honoring of the Reverend Raymond Figueroa. Pastor Figueroa was the founder of the Pentecostal Church back in October 2nd of 1954, and he pastored the church and serviced the community for 45 years. He also was a chaplain of the police department for a couple of years. He also served the community as a commissioner for housing. And he did a lot of good work in the community, and we are here on his behalf and trying to honor his memory by the naming of the street. He also founded the Mission Pentecostal Church in Stanford, and he also founded our Bible theology school here in town. So he was a man of God, a man with a vision, and he was the first Hispanic here in town that was able to build the first Pentecostal church here in town back in the late 60s. And right now we're finishing up our brand new building at 8 Woodward Avenue, also on his memory. So we're here for you guys to take in consideration our petition regarding to this particular issue. Thank you. And there's other people here that are with us. They are members of our church.
Hello, my name is Noel de Jesus, and I am truly grateful for the opportunity to speak about Reverend Figueroa and the profound impact he has had in my life. Reverend Figueroa was a well-known and highly respected figure in this town of Norwalk, and growing up, he was recognized by everyone in the community. And not only that, he was a man of God in his divine calling. He was constantly serving the community. And one of the things that I can say about him is that, you know, right now I've been a member of the church for 30 years. But before that, you know, I was in the street for 15 years and I was in drugs and all that, and I wasn't doing good. But when I started going to church and I met Reverend Figueroa, and you know, when he was giving his sermons and preaching the word, Well, those words came in my heart, and my life was transformed. And for 15 years that I was in the streets, now, you know, by listening to the word of God and God using him and going to church, today I can say I'm a different man. And I've been in church for 30 years. I got a family, I got my kids, I got grandkids, and it's a blessing being here and talking about Reverend Figueroa. And I thank you for listening. God bless.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Doris De Jesus. To me, it is an honor and a privilege today to stand before you to speak on behalf of my late pastor, the Reverend Raymond Figueroa. And there's so much I can say about a man who impacted my life and so many others to this day. I remember Pastor Figueroa from my earliest memories of my childhood because together with his wife, they were a very active part of my growing up, my life growing up. They would pick me and my brothers up to bring us to church regularly, always there to guide us, to instruct us and show us what the true meaning of loving God was and is. And not only did he pick us up, but they would come with their station wagon full of children that they would pick up from the community to bring them to the house of the Lord. He lived what he preached. He was a man who was compassionate for souls. You would always see him in the streets of South Norwalk and Woodward Avenue and at the hospitals ministering to people. I worked at the hospital for 28 years and he was a chaplain at the hospital as well. And he was always there visiting people and praying for people. He dedicated his life to the mission and the calling he received from God. He was a man of integrity, a man of a solid word, who was respected and admired by all who had the blessing and privilege of knowing him. My pastor was not only there in church services, but he was also there for my family during the most difficult times in our lives. It didn't matter the time, the day, when we called him, he was there. And I remember in one instance of many that I can say that one of my brothers was in the hospital needing an emergency surgery, which was a matter of life or death. And I called them at 2 o'clock in the morning. And when I called, I apologized for calling at that hour. And his wife said to me, "Don't worry, I'm already up praying." A few minutes later, he arrived at the hospital and stayed with us through the whole process while we were there. And like I said, that's just one of many instances where he showed up to be with the people that he served. Like I said, his heart was connected to the people he pastored, and he showed it every day of his life. And I will forever be grateful to the Lord for giving me the privilege of having him in my life and having him being my pastor. And to this day, when I think of him, it brings emotions to me, overwhelming, that he marked my life with the greatest message of all, the message of Christ. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very, very well done. Ms. Young, do you have something to read into the record?
We have one more person, Mr. Freya.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see the other person.
It's okay. Hi, my name is Carmen Villalobos, and I want to thank everyone for listening.
It's okay, Carmen.
Take your time.
Take your time.
Reverend Figueroa was not just my pastor. This is very emotional for me, I'm sorry. He was like my father, my spiritual father, who was there for us. I've been in church since I was 5 years old, and that's 52 years in the same church. He's seen me grow up since the age of 5. I came here from Puerto Rico when I was 3.5. At the age, thank you. At the age of 5, that's when my parents started going to church, and that's when I met him. He was a wonderful man, a loving man. a stern man because he was a man of God and he followed God's law to a T. And that made us who we are. Our generation, Noel and Doris, and many people who have passed away. I mean, we owe him so much. He was always there for us, and like Doris had mentioned, anytime we had issues or problems, we would call him. It didn't matter what time it was. It could have been the wee hours of the morning, like Doris said, at 2 a.m. He was there. He did not hesitate. And that's the kind of man that he was. He had integrity. He loved God, and he did God's work based on the Bible, how we were supposed to act with each other in love. And that man gave us a lot of love. He was a man of the community. He was there for all of us. I came here in 72 and there weren't a lot of Hispanics here at the time. But as the years went by, I was living on Woodward Avenue. The church was right there. Like, we walked right there. And it started filling up and filling up. And it started with only like a handful of people in a garage on Orchard Street. That's where he started. God brought him to Norwalk with a reason, for a purpose. And I believe that this is a beautiful way of honoring Pastor Figueroa's legacy. And I know everyone in the community, those that have gone, because many people have left Norwalk, because of retirement or other reasons. Everyone remembers him. Everyone. Everyone goes, well, when he was still alive, he retired to Florida. We all of us, it didn't matter. Every time any one of us from the congregation or from the community would go to Florida, they got visits. That's how much of an impact he had on all of us. And this is the best way to honor him, I believe. And his legacy will go on. And I know that his name will continue in the mouths of each generation that goes through. So I thank you, everyone, for listening to us and for hearing us. And I thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. That was very, 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 very touching.
Thank you.
Ms. Young?
Thank you, Chair. So I just wanted to read this. Mr. Felix Serrano sent this to me kind of late this afternoon, just to share his support for what we're getting ready, hopefully, to do. He just said, I'm reaching out because tonight the Public Works Committee meets and I want to lend my support to the naming of a portion of Woodward Avenue after naming Woodward Avenue Reverend Raymond Figueroa Way. Growing up in South Norwalk, Pastor Figueroa and his wife Gloria were instrumental in keeping us on the straight and narrow. The pastor offered not only spiritual guidance, but also the personal attention and care each young person needed at that time. The pastor provided a safe space to turn to, a place to find purpose, direction, and most importantly, the confidence needed to overcome any challenge. I did not thank him enough for his dedication and faithfulness to his calling, but with this naming, it will be a great way to honor him. Thank you very much, Felix R. Serrano.
Thank you. Do we have any other people wishing to speak? Are there any people online that would like to speak?
There is not, Mr. Greer.
Okay. Then I'll close the this public hearing, and we'll move on to other business in the for this evening. So the next, and we'll come back to this under under new business. So in the meantime, I'd like to ask if there's any questions on or any comments on the minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to read the minutes? And are there any corrections or modifications that we would like to make? Seeing none, can I have a motion to approve the minutes? Ms. Smith, all those in favor? That's unanimous. Okay, thank you. Under new business, oh no, I'm sorry. We have to open it up for public participation. Although we've just had a public hearing, we now have to open it for public participation where anybody in the who is signed in can comment on anything that's on our agenda this evening. And you have 3 minutes to make your comments. Do we have anybody online? If you're online, you want to make a comment, just raise your hand.
We do not, Mr. Ferrer.
Okay. In light of the fact that we had a public hearing earlier, we'll close the public participation. Under new business. The first item under new business is to approve the honorary naming of a portion of Woodward Avenue from South Main Street to Burritt Avenue to be named Reverend Ramon Figueroa Way. Do I have a motion? Ms. Young? Any comments or any further questions that does anybody have? We've been heard quite a few people talk about Reverend Figueroa in a very meaningful way. Are there any other comments? Anybody else want to add anything? Ms. Smith?
Yeah, I just want to take a moment to thank you all for coming out and your words on behalf of Reverend Figueroa. I mean, just it's so heartfelt, and I just want to just let you know how much I appreciate your work.
Ms. Dunn?
Hi. Have the people that live on that area been contacted? Are they aware and in support of this too? The abutting properties.
Department of
That's a
Public
good-
Works, Ms. Dunn, do not do that. We are just, as I mentioned before, really the conductor for the council to approve that. It will be up, if you guys request, that will be up to the who is petition to do that, not something that we do.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Ms. Young?
I just wanted to say how moved I was by hearing the folks speak in support of Reverend Figueroa. It just sounds to me like he was like so many other people during that time that were really there in the community doing the groundwork and just being that resource for people on the ground, feet on the ground, and just supporting this community. So the likes of Bobby Burgess and B. Brown and Reverend Figueroa and even Reverend Rivera, I know I see you and Carmen. And so I think this is such an amazing thing. And finally to do that, because the structure is now fully enclosed, correct? And you are all there. So what a wonderful way to celebrate the new church and just really solidifying Reverend Figueroa and that community and that church in this community. So we are I hope that we pass this. I'm sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, darling.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to remind the committee that when we get a request for any streets, the procedure besides the public hearing and the approval of the Public Works Committee is that if you move to Common Council, we'll need at least 2/3 of the votes of the council to get it approved. So 10 people needs to vote.
Correct.
And the to the question that Ms. Dunn asked, like you said, abutting the adjacent properties. I think there's a business on either side, and then there's another church on the same side, but I'm not sure. There are not that many housing properties that surround that facility. But I think they need to know anyway. They
I
need to
think
know the
so.
name and rename.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this. I think it's wonderful that he sounds like a lovely human being, and I love that there are people that feel such a sense of him bringing them to faith and stuff like that. But I do have concerns about putting that on other people. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, if you're maybe Jewish, you don't want to be part of that or not. People should have the opportunity to speak up. So I just want to make sure that everybody has the ability to weigh in if the street's being named in front of their property. That's all. And not that I'm opposed to it in general.
I think this is the first step toward that, toward a decision to do something. So we'll see if we can get through this, surmount this hurdle first, and then we'll go from there, I think. Okay. Seeing that-
Mr. Chairman, I just want to add one thing, just a reminder, maybe this can address one of concerns or Ms. Dunn. Because it was a public hearing, remember that Public Works should post about it on the newspaper. So, I don't know if that you would consider, but it was on the newspaper, the public hearing and the reason with the naming. So that is the only kind of, outreach that we will do.
Okay. Mr. Seed?
Let me see if I could. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
So hi, thanks for allowing me to speak. I just wanted to just give my support. My uncle Ephraim Calzada, they actually grew up at that church. They moved to Rhode Island. But when I passed this message along, they just sent that he was such a great man and really played a big part in their life. So just have that connection with my family and just knowing hearing his name in the community, I think this would be great. I actually grew up not too far from Woodward on Meadow Street, and a lot of people know about the Reverend and the good work that he was doing. So definitely just really excited to see this come forward.
Great. Thank you. Ms. Najelski-Eitner.
Yeah, I thank you, everyone who came to speak. It was really lovely to hear about, Reverend Figueroa's commitment to the community and, the role that he played in shaping South Norwalk. I did wonder, Vanessa, I know that in the past for street work and things, we have done notifications. Is this something that we could consider adding to the ordinance, for instance? I think to Ms. Dunn's point, there are certainly other ordinances we have that require notification of neighbors. I don't know, just maybe something we should consider since the question has been raised for future reference.
Do we know whether there is an ordinance for renaming streets or naming ways?
Yes, there is. It is, it's paragraph 90, chapter 95, paragraph 95-39. So it is not requiring that. What has happened in the past that we have seen with different requests is that this committee can request other things. So we saw in the past that there was a time that there was a naming, and then they wanted that to go back and make that notifications, come back to us. That was that the notification was done, show proof of it, and then the committee ended up voting. So on the ordinance, there is nothing like that. We don't do, as I said, we're just really the channel to get the petition going. But the Public Works Committee has the power to request for whoever is doing the petition should do extra things to show that the community is really supporting the naming of the street. We have seen that in the past.
Can I comment something?
Does anybody have, excuse me, does anybody have any other further comments? Okay, then I'll call for a vote on this. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3. So it looks like 4 in favor and 1 opposed.
I'm just gonna abstain because I'd like to
Okay.
hear more from just that everybody's, I'm sure they'll be in favor. I'd just like to do the due diligence beforehand.
Okay,
That happened.
all right, so Ms.
And I
Dunn.
would be a yes at council probably, but I'm just gonna abstain for right now.
Okay, so Ms. Dunn abstains. Okay. So it's carried and we'll bring this to the council. So thank you all for coming today. It was very nice meeting you. And it was very enlightening to hear about the Reverend Figueroa. I look forward to seeing his name when I walk down Woodward Street.
And
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good to
Thanks.
see you,
Bye now.
Carmen.
Good
Thank
to
you.
see you, Darlene.
Thank
Jalen.
you.
Thank you so
Okay, next item. We have several items that relate to contract extensions. So what I would like to do in order to move this along quickly, I'd like to move number, I'll read B, C, D, and E together. I'll read those first and then we'll have discussion. And we can then put them to a vote. So B is authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a First Amendment agreement between the city of Norwalk and Teague and Bond for project DPW 2024-1 on-call engineering services. The agreement is for 1 year, billable on an hourly basis for a sum not to exceed $150,000 with an option to extend for one additional term of 1 year, account so noted. C, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a Second Amendment agreement between the city of Norwalk and Weston Sampson Engineers, Inc. for project DPW 2024-1 on-call engineering services. The agreement for a period of 1 year, billable on an hourly basis for a sum not to exceed $150,000 annually, with an option to extend for one additional term of 1 year. Accounts so noted. D, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute First Amendment agreement between the city of Norwalk and AI Engineers, Inc. for a project DPW 2024-1 on-call engineering services. The agreement is for a period of 1 year, billable on an hourly basis for a sum not to exceed $150,000 with an option to extend for one additional term of 1 year. Accounts so noted. And then E, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a Second Amendment between the city of Norwalk and Teague and Bond for project DPW 2024-2 on-call construction engineer inspection observation services for an amount not to exceed $350,000 billable on an hourly basis. Accounts so noted. Do I have a motion on these items? Ms. Najelski, thank you. Mr. Meehan, I think you're in the house. Do you want to give us a little rundown on these several items?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, as stated, items B, C, and D, we're looking to extend our on-call engineering contracts with various consulting firms. We do perform a lot of engineering services ourselves, but oftentimes we have to call in consulting services for various tasks, including various specialty works, whether it be advanced structural or geotechnical works, or for anything that just requires additional non-allocated manpower. This gets pretty heavy with issues involving, especially anything involving permitting with the United States Army Corps of Engineers and Connecticut Deep and everything else that's required. There are times where we just need to call in a consultant to do additional work for the department. And then item E, as you stated, is for our on-call engineering service, excuse me, on-call construction inspection services with Ty and Bond. This is an extension of a particular years that we've had this. We're looking to extend it again. It's mainly we use the inspectors for our paving projects because, as you know, that goes for a considerable amount during the year, and we don't have the allocated manpower to be able to accommodate all those projects. But in addition to the paving, we also have our various very large drainage projects. In the past, we've used it for Dreamy Hollow for our project, which was a $9 million project, as most of you know. And we're currently also involved in another very heavy drainage project, which is over on Lockwood and Heather Lane, which is a $5 million project. And it's very essential that we have continuous inspection services as it relates not just to make sure that the project is done correctly, but also that we are following all permanent requirements, because this is a grant project. So we have to make sure that everything is done on a daily basis, things that are actually going to be required. These companies have done a very good job in the past, and we'd like to continue using them, because as you know, the Lockwood and Heather project itself is going to be taking us all the way into the end of 2025. So, and then it's going to follow up with additional paving on both there and other various roads as well. So we'd like to just continue the existing contracts as it stands right now.
Okay, great. Any comments or questions for Mr. Meehan? Ms. Najelski-Eidner?
So just very briefly, I was reminded by a constituent that sometimes we get so used to knowing the answers to things that we don't ask them again. And then when the constituent hears something for the first time, they're like, wait, why didn't you ask about this? So Mr. Meehan, could you just refresh for us again, why is it more efficient and effective for us to have these kind of consulting contracts as opposed to hiring another couple of staff members? Could you just, reiterate that? Because I think it is an important point that I know I have asked in the past, and I don't want to assume everyone has heard if they're calling in for the first.
Yes, well, thank you. Well, it's not so much a question of efficiency as it is about for turnaround times, because oftentimes a lot of these projects have to go in a concentrated time and as short as possible, even though it's sort of extended over a period of entire construction season. It still has to be concentrated, and that's why for something like this, it has to get out right away. We have the manpower, we have the professional expertise to do some of these projects. Some of them are required too much of a specialty. Like as I stated before, some of them will require advanced structural design or geotechnical or something related on something that perhaps requires too much of a specialty. It's like going to a specialist in a doctor's office. But also more the point is the fact that we need to have a very quick turnaround time, and we just do not have the allocated manpower for, even if we allocated for additional manpower, which we certainly do not object to because we are looking to do that. But even with that, there needs to be a concentrated short period of time to get this out before the beginning of a construction season. So if something starts if we know that we're being allocated particular funds, we need to get these things out relatively quickly. And sometimes even if you would need to have several people in the office actually dedicating time to this, and quite frankly, that's just not something that we can afford time-wise. So even if we request additional manpower, that manpower would have to be concentrated. It had to be several amount in a very short period of time.
Great, thank you so much. I really appreciate getting that on the right.
Let me just follow up on that too, because I think it's important that we note on all of these contracts that it's an on-call situation. So give me an example, because I think about an on-call meaning, I can call up my doctor right away and he'll come to or he'll take my phone call. Is it that instantaneous that you can get answers right away, or is it within a week they get back to us?
It's we can get them basically, the procedure is, even with the on-call, is that we have to have a, sort of we have to still have to receive proposals from these consultants. And we have to have, follow the procedure just to make sure they understand that, they have to we give them the required scope. They give us the proposal, what it would, how many man hours they need to dedicate to this, and we have to evaluate those and get back to them. But this, saves the time for, a lot of the other areas as opposed to actually going out to a formal bid, which would be a very lengthy process. So because we have these pre-approved consulting firms, we know that they are capable of doing particular tasks that we actually request of them, that we know that when we send this out to them, they're able to get us back with a reasonable amount of time. The exact amount of time will vary on the project, to be honest with you, so.
So it's cheaper to spend $450,000 instead of having maybe two specialists that, I mean, is it possible to take a look and see, you know, what, in what realm do these people work? And then can we hire two people for $400,000 and save ourselves $50,000? And they'll be able to handle all this
So
stuff?
Freya, we don't use all that amount of money. So, so for instance, last year, we didn't before now, we have one of the consultants, we ended up pretty much using all the money that was on their contract because it was how we were exactly on that situation that we ended up getting a quick design because we need to apply for a grant and they were able to give us that. So we ended up spending that money. One of the consultants, I think that we didn't even use at all. So it is most of the work that we try to do that is not as big, we do internally. All the big work, we put it out as a separate RFP. So this one is really for very, I would say, not that small, but like kind of a medium-sized project that we need that extra power in a certain amount of time. The good thing, as Mr. Mian explained, is that we already went through interviewing all the companies, we sort them, we know exactly what they are able to do. So we do gain a lot of time instead of advertising for an RFP. We still do for all the big projects. If we need a consultant for something specific, we'd rather put an RFP out. We are actually doing one for WPCA for next week. So this is more like to help us on this type of project. But back to your question, as of today, this way is still more efficient because the cost of a full-time, we still need a full-time employee, as believe me, we are like very short-handed. But this also helps to fill some of the voids. And I think that the cost is not more than a person because we ended up not using the whole 450 in a year. But to be fair to all of them, we come up with a number that we believe that if we use a couple of times and we give the same contract to every single one. Because when we issue the task order, unless it is extremely specific to one company that we know, we issue to the three of them and then they bring us back, they reply to us to see what is their availability and what will be their price based on the matrix of the manpower that they're gonna put on.
Mhm. Okay. Is there any, Ms. Winterstern?
Thank you. I just have a quick follow-up. In terms of like best practices with other municipalities that are of a similar size of Norwalk, is this sort of a standard way of commissioning work, this on-call process? Because I don't have anything to compare it to, but I would imagine it is.
Yes,
I
yes,
think that even actually some of them just put it all the work
yes.
out. We are very proud to say that we do a lot of work in-house.
Right.
So there is a lot of like all the new engineers that we hire, we make sure that they are AutoCAD proficiency. So they're able to design a lot of things here. If there is something that is very small, we can do here. We have people that can use all the surveyor equipment. So again, we are able to keep all our staff busy between design, construction, inspection, planning, checking the quantities, right, and all that, applying for grants, but there is still time that we have to put it out. I would say from my experience, working in different areas and talking to some of my peers, most of them put everything on consultant nowadays.
I can definitely say, yes, in agreement with Vanessa, other municipalities definitely utilize outside consultants, and how much they do does vary between the municipalities, but to Vanessa's point, we are lucky, we have a very competent staff. We design stormwater systems, we design small structural systems, we do design that, but there's a limited amount that we can do. And just to reiterate a particular point, when we retain one of these consultants to do a particular project, we're not necessarily retaining one person to do that, where this consultant could have assigned 5 people to work on the project in order to get this out to us in a short period of time that we would need to do. Something that we can't do in here, simply because I can't take 5 people on my staff and work on one project. That's just not feasible with all the work that we have to do.
And sometimes they do not even do everything. We need sometimes more people because we try to meet some deadline. There is a lot of exchange between what we are able to do in-house and what they are doing. So for instance, let's say that we know that, okay, we need to put a design complete while they are working on the design, because they have the people to be able to draft, even on Saturday and Sundays that we know will meet the deadline, we'll be here writing the specs for the same project. So that's pretty much, it's ended up being kind of more of a support of the extension of the engineering department, right, Jim?
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
Any other comments or any other questions? Okay, seeing then I'll call all those in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's unanimous. Great, thank you. F, this is, excuse me, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a permanent sidewalk easement with Noreen R. Normand of 31 Richmond Hill Road in construction of sidewalks along Richmond Hill Road for project PM 2024-4 paving for various locations. And I'm going to read the next one together because they are related, actually neighbors. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a permanent sidewalk easement with Connie C. Hertz and Martin Hertz of 33 Richmond Hill Road for construction of sidewalks and driveway apron along Richmond Hill Road for project PM 2024-4 paving at various locations. So, Ms. Valadares, do you want to comment on this one?
Yes, thank you. We're, as part of our connectivity projects, we're installing sidewalks around Richmond Hill, McAllister, and Francis Avenue. And particularly at Richmond Hill, we want to kind of keep the curb exactly what it is, and to be able to fit the sidewalk, we'll need to really encroach on a private property. This is the best way to do less disturbance in the area with the project. So before we came in front of the board of the committee, we have already talked to both property owners, and as by the map that we have attached, it's very minimal how much that sidewalk will be inside private property. So we need to take a permanent easement because the sidewalk will be in their property, but for number 33, we are just requesting about 19 square feet. So it's almost nothing, it's pretty much just a little slim there. And then on number 31 is about 21. So very similar, and it's just pretty much continue. And particularly on 33, We are considering sidewalk, but it's really part of the apron that we're gonna do that where we finish the apron will be already their property instead of being all the way on the right of way.
Any comments? Any questions? Seems pretty straightforward. All those in favor? Unanimous again. Thank you. Okay. H, authorized Mayor Harry W. Rilling to award a contract
Excuse me,
agreement.
Chair. Someone has to
Yes.
move the last item. No one moved it.
I'm sorry.
So moved.
Thank you.
Thanks. I thought I was being so good tonight. Authorized the Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute a permanent sidewalk easement with, I'm sorry, we read that one already. H, authorized Mayor Harry W. Rilling to award a contract agreement with Kelowna Concrete and Asphalt Paving LLC in the amount of $1,212,365 with a 10% contingency of $121,365.60 for project TMP 2024-7 Hospital Hill Village enhancement project accounts so noted. I think we have Greg Pacelli with us
I'll
tonight.
move it for
And
you.
before I call on him, I was going to ask for a motion on this item. Ms. Smith, thank you. Greg, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Freyer. Thank you, council members. Really excited to be here tonight to present the Hospital Hill Village Safety Enhancement Project to you all tonight. A couple of years back in 2023, the city received an $800,000 grant from DOT through the Community Connectivity Grant Program for this project. As the project has grown in scope and scale during the design phase, the city dedicated additional capital funds to the project. The project aims to address safety issues related to the five-legged traffic circle where Stewart Avenue, Stephen Street, and Magnolia meet. This is right in front of Blue Cactus Grill, and it's in proximity to Norwalk Hospital, right on Stephen Street, which is just a stone's throw away to this project area. The reconfigured intersection, looks to reduce vehicle speeds and improve safety for all roadway users. Additional upgrades include wider sidewalks, high visibility crosswalks, curb extensions, new village parking lot that will support the local businesses in the community, placemaking elements like pedestrian level lighting, plaza area and street furniture, which will feature a welcoming gateway to the area, which today is just a sea of asphalt today. Upon being awarded the grant in November of 23, Governor Lamont was actually here to kind of highlight the award for the city of Norwalk that was awarded with 17 municipalities altogether for this grant solicitation. And we received one of the highest ratings for our application for this project. And during the press conference, we emphasized our goal was to be the first one out to bid for construction. I'm happy to say that within, just over 12 months, we were out to bid for this project in January. While we may not have been the first to be out, we were second. But to be fair, our project was much more complex and with all the streetscape elements was, very intricate in the design phase. And, we appreciate DPW's coordination on this project as they were very involved with the drainage process and the review of the design plans as well as we advanced the design plans. I could also say that DOT also expressed their excitement towards this project, and they're looking forward to seeing this project completed as part of this grant program. We anticipate the project to be under construction in May of 2025 as well. So we're really excited to be presenting this tonight and hearing from you all tonight.
Great. Any comments, questions? I'd like to make a comment. I think that this is really exciting. I mean, I for about 3 or 4 years, drove down Stevens Street to get to the hospital. And I was always amazed at what chaos it was in that little section right there. Nobody quite ever knew which way they were supposed to be going anyway. And so it looks like such a, when we first started talking about this, I just couldn't imagine what you could possibly do to make some rhyme or reason out of this thing. So I'm real excited to see how it comes out at the end.
Thank you. Yeah, we're
Ms.
excited.
Smith, you're excited too. Ms. Smith?
Yeah, just to add to that, thank you, Mr. Freyer. This is such an exciting project, and I guess what I've had the same experience. You're like, trying to figure out where to go. But I want to just take a moment to acknowledge, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? I'm frozen, I see. That this was such an important effort of community engagement. And really reaching out to and talking with, the businesses, the people in the neighborhood about, how to make it work. And it's just really a model for the way to do things, to get everyone involved and get their feedback. And so I just really want to commend, everyone who was involved in that, TMP, DPW, DOT. It's so exciting that this is going to get off the ground.
And thank you for highlighting that as well. We held a public meeting last year in February to kind of gauge the community's input, but we also talked to the businesses in the area a lot and listened to what they had to say, and also had a we got a stakeholder meeting in as well, where we had our design team meet with the businesses and listen to what they had to say and what's important to them, and just to listen to the community, and I think we implemented all those into the project.
Yeah, really well done.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any comments? Questions? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Unanimous again. Okay, thank you. Next, we have also for Greg, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an extension for a 1-year agreement with AVD Excavators LLC, project TMP 2022-4, concrete services, ADA ROW, ROW improvements at various locations for an amount not to exceed $500,000, with a contingency of 10% of $50,000. Accounts so noticed. Do I have a motion on this? Ms. Dunn, thank you. Greg, you're back on the point.
Thank you, Mr. Freyer. So this contract is our second 1-year extension with AVD Excavators for our concrete services contract. The original contract was awarded in 2023. The contract is dedicated towards upgrading smaller infrastructure-related projects to meet ADA standards. Over the past couple of years, projects included, incorporating ADA compliant ramps, connecting missing sidewalk gaps, and adding raised crosswalks for traffic calmings in areas. This contract is really used also to, address customer service requests that come in as well, to kind of get those quick hit projects where we can just go out and install ramps and fill those sidewalk gaps. Last year, for example, we did work on Fox Run Road adjacent to Fox Run School to fill an existing sidewalk gap. We also did fill the sidewalk gap on Route 1 near Wolf Pit Avenue as well. And we also constructed a retaining wall on Witch Lane, along with a short sidewalk segment at Little Brook, which kind of set up for future paving and for future sidewalk along Witch Lane as well. And the wall came out terrific. We even put a nice decorative stone over the top of it, so it really came out well. So in 2025, we also have future projects that we're planning on, and also open through our customer service requests that come in to address those concerns that come in, to see if we can get some quick hit projects done with this contract as well. And we're looking forward to another round of good, smaller scale projects, for this coming year.
Any questions? I have a question, Greg. This is the second one, right? How did we come out? Did we spend $500,000 last year?
So we did not, last year, we did not, spend 500,000. You know, it all depends, you know, that's why we kind of cap it at a certain number, but we also, you know, it depends upon the contractor availability and how long the, you know, the projects take to complete. You know, some projects, you know, took longer than expected. You know, there was some wait time, like for instance, the retaining wall in Witch Lane, that took, you know, most of the spring. There was a pretty intricate process to get that retaining wall in. Sure that it was constructed properly. And then even on Route 1 to get the sidewalks in, there was a lot of back and forth with the state DOT as well, because it was, you know, it was on their road. So we had to go through the encroachment permit process for that as well. So we did not spend the 500,000.
Okay.
But we aim to we try to squeeze as much as we could and get as many projects done every year that we can.
Yeah, I was just curious whether you go over it or it's under or over each year.
Yeah.
I understand, you know, all of these little projects are all so different and so a different level of complexity that it's hard to really guess how much you're going to use at one particular time until you probably get into it.
Yeah. I mean, if it were up to us, and you know, if we could, we'd get, you know, 8 to 10 done a year. You know, if we could, but we try to, you know, get as much done in those small impactful projects as possible.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like it's unanimous again. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right now, we're going to item J, and I'd like to call for a motion to suspend rules for a moment on this item. What we have on our agenda, we found out earlier today that the numbers that we have in here have been subject to some change, and we'd like to suspend the rules now so that we could update this item with the correct numbers and explain to you why we're making that change. So do we have a motion to suspend the rules? Done. Thank you. So what happened? Ms. Valadares, do you want to explain what happened, and then I'll read the new.
Sure. So we, can I also explain the item as well together?
Yeah, what I was going to do is, well, let me lead into it. So what's happened is that this is you've probably read the item. It's for a way station software. And as Ms. Valdes and her team were going through this, they found out that there was another element of the software that would add greater control and would interface with the city's accounting system, and so that we would be able to interface this information that was being picked up without having to have somebody sit there and copy it down and then put it into another piece of paper and then send it to accounting. So what we've done is we've changed she was able to change the amounts and add this other module to the software, which increased the the amounts at the same wording. It increased the amounts by about $3,000 and increased the annual basis by about $500. Is there anything else you want to add to that? Ms. Valderas, do you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Freyer. So just to suspend the rules, I'd like to redo the authorization with the new number. first, and then if you guys approve that, then we can move the item and then I can explain. So what I'm proposing would be to authorize Mayor Harry W. Reading to execute an agreement with Paradigm Software LLC for the purchase of a software platform to manage the truck scales and customer accounts at the city transfer station and yardway site in an amount not to exceed $40,332.08, plus an annual support and service fee of $11,515 that will be renewed on an annual basis. So this
Okay.
is the motion that I would like to, the resolution that I would like to add it.
Okay. Do I have a second for that? Do I have a motion to accept that? Okay, Ms. Najilski-Eidner. Okay, so Ms. Valderas, do you want to explain a little bit about
So now we need to
how
move
this
the
thing
item.
works?
So now we need to move this item, right?
We did.
Yeah.
We just did. Ms. Najilski-Eidner moved it.
Okay, so what happened is that at the transfer station, as you are aware, we actually have 3 scales right throughout the transfer station and the yardways where we really weight all the commercial and the residential cars, not all cars, but the ones that are considered like vans or pickup. And that's where we generate an invoice. What has been happening is that we have a software that we have been using for many, many years. And now that we were told last year that the software would not be anymore available as the end of 24. Early last year, we engaged another company. We'll put it out. We interviewed some companies and we ended up getting to a contract with one of them. Where we have been working with them throughout last year. And as of today, we still do not have a software that the other company was supposed to deliver. We're having few issues because we need to customize one of the features that we required, and unfortunately, their product hasn't been out for us yet. So since pretty much December, we have been doing everything manually. Although we're still talking to this other company, we have legal talking to them. Time is of essence here. I cannot have really my staff spending hours trying to put in every single weight measure that is coming into the transfer station or at the yard site. So although we do have a deadline with the company that we are currently using to deliver the product, first was last Thursday that they didn't ended up meeting again the deadline. They pushed to another 1 or 2 weeks, and I really have no faith that will happen. Instead of waiting longer and longer, I have asked staff to go we'll start again looking what will be the other options. So we ended up talking to Paradigm the first time around. That when we interviewed last year, they were not one of the persons that we considered, to be honest, because we didn't know about them, neither them about us. So we ended up this time, we call a lot of people, we try to figure out what the other municipalities were using. So this company has over 230, I believe that 236 customers that is municipal, and that's how we ended up getting to them. Tom Zabel have been talking to them for over a month, explaining exactly what we need. And instead of us waiting to see that we're not going to get the product again from the regional company, I would like to put in front of you an authorization to get into the agreement with this new company. So what will happen is that most likely we may really execute this contract, because after meeting with them today that we went through a whole demo and everything that the software can do, the feature that the other companies is struggling to deliver, it is already on their software that they do not need to build out of it. And that's why we believe that if we engage with them, we're gonna have about between 90 to 180 days, we'll have the software totally installed and ready to go. So again, I'm being very transparent. I could have waited another month to come here and say, you know, it failed, the one that we had the contract that we're working on. But I would like to really anticipate this 1 month that we have. We gave them a lot of chances. We have had a lot of heat in those meetings since December. We were in the call between Christmas and New Year's because, again, as of end of December, we do not have a software that works at the transfer station. We have everything under control. You know, as I said, we have staff there manually inputting all the weights and issuing all the bills, but the amount of work that has been on them is really unfair. So instead of just dragging this because it's not looking good, I'd rather already engage this other company. If you guys approve this tonight, you have my word that on the next meeting, I'm definitely gonna give you an update of where we are. We stopped paying everything that was committed to the other company. We already have acknowledged from them that no payment was gonna continue, so it's not that we're paying two companies at all. And then there is already legal trying to follow up if we break that well, they are in default, right? They didn't deliver. What we were supposed to do is how we would get reimbursed for some of the money that we have already paid. So I'm gonna definitely keep you guys updated, but I just wanna not lose another month because I know that unfortunately, I don't have much of a trust in this other company.
Any questions? Any comments anybody have? Okay. All right, I'll just call from all those in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's unanimous. Okay. All right, thank you. Letter K. Authorize Mayor Harry W. Rilling to enter into a temporary right of entry agreement with Linda Markowski to enter into a certain portion of 164 Grumman Avenue for construction, access, slope modification purposes in connection with the sidewalk installation for project PM 2023-5 pavement management program. I'm going to read the next one too because they're basically the same thing. Authorize Mayor Harry W. Rilling to enter into temporary right of entry agreement with Nancy DiAcuto to enter over a certain portion of 170 Grumman Avenue for construction access slope modification purposes in connection with the sidewalk installation for project PM 2023-5 pavement management program. Do I have a motion? Ms. Smith, thank you. Ms. Valadares, again, back to you.
I'll pass that to Mr. Mian.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, as stated, we're looking for a right of entry for our two properties. We're going to be paving Grumman Avenue this year, and with that will come sidewalks installation as well. The sidewalks in front of these two homes, unlike the previous items where we asked for actual easement, the sidewalks will be within the right of way. Will not be taking any property from the homeowners, but there will be elements of the homeowners, both Ms. Mikowski and Ms. DeCunto, where we need to adjust their driveways and the stone wall that they have on their property in order to accommodate the new sidewalk. So we're just looking for a temporary right of entry, which is basically just during the construction phase to readjust those elements in order to accommodate the sidewalk.
Okay. Any comments, any questions? Okay. All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Good. Okay, on to reports. Tree operations and programming. Chris Torrey, looked like kind of a slow month this month. Is there anything that you want to highlight in your report?
Yeah, we were probably doing snow more than trees last month. Um, no, but we did 0 removals and 0 prunings at the parks. We removed 4 trees at the schools, 2 pines, 2 ash trees. I'm surprised that there were 2 ash trees left. 10 trees in the right of way, 2 hickories, 2 oaks, 1 locust, 1 maple, a tree of heaven, and 4 pines.
Okay.
And then for pruning, safety pruning, we did 16 trees in the right of way, 12 maples, 1 hickory, 1 oak, 2 pine trees. The summary of locations, service requests, and work orders are noted below.
Great. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. On the monthly waste reports on and the food scrap drop off, does anybody have any questions on any of those items in there for Mr. Zabo? I just had one quick question is looking at the municipal solid waste, it looks like we're showing a decrease year over year. And then also we see a decrease in the recycling collection as well. I would have thought that if the recycling was up, that we'd see a decrease in the solid waste, but it seems like they're both going down. Is there any reason for that? Is that just cyclical or just the roll of the dice?
Yeah, so far since I've been monitoring the data, it seems like they go down together. Rarely have I seen it go, the trash go up and the recycling go down. I don't know if it's maybe sort of how you alluded to, maybe a seasonal thing where people are either staying inside or maybe going on vacation, something to that nature.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions on any of the reports? Tom, do you have anything you want to add or anything you want to bring out?
I'll just say we completed the Christmas tree collection. We collected 2,300 Christmas trees, and I think probably 50 more throughout the kind of week or two after the collection. So that went pretty well. And then tomorrow we have our first bulky waste collection of the season. And we have over 100 stops for that.
How does that work? How do you advertise for that?
So we post on the city's social medias, and we also have it posted on the city website under the Public Works Department, solid waste and recycling page. And we also have some flyers throughout the year. I have them on my education table, and I kind of let all the residents know, anyone I talk to, check back on the city website, and we'll update it at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm. And do people have to call and make a reservation?
Yep. So residents can call, or they can create an account and do it online through a GIS app. And that sends it all to customer service. And then they get signed up for this Wednesday. And we ask that they have all their items out on the curb before 7 a.m. tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Great. Good.
I have a question, Chair. So Tom, do you have any sense of what the numbers or the pickups look like in different districts and what it looks like in District B?
We do record all the service requests every time someone calls up and requests a pickup, and we do document the certain items they enter as well. It seems like after we get through the first couple of cold months here, it really starts to pick up where we might see 180 or 200 stops per month for one day. And it does seem to be all similar waste for the most part. It's a lot of, you know, the bigger, you know, plastic outdoor furnitures and things like that. Maybe some dressers and couches and mattresses and things like that.
So for this next event, you said that's happening, right?
Yeah.
So do you have a sense now of, because you said you know how many pickups you have? Do
Yeah.
you have them, so do you know how many you might have for the South Norwalk area as of right now? Or you don't know because so you just drive around or
So
people are signing up?
we have residents sign up by zone, and we've got the city split into 4 zones at the moment. South Norwalk would be zone 3.
Mhm.
So their pickup will be in June. And then I can definitely give you a thorough report on that. I can make sure I monitor the service request to see exactly what we're kind of seeing residents put out. And we do also monitor the requests more so for metal or any bulk plastic items that we're able to recycle for the most part.
Ms. Young,
And
we might be able to provide you historical data that we have, not on the ready today of what we
Okay.
collect in District D. I think
Right,
that's
what
what you're
on
looking
average
for.
then, right?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
just, so if you have to sign up, there's a certain number of houses, right, that you have to
Yeah.
go to. That's what I thought I heard. So if you're signing up and you've got 50 houses or 100 houses or 2 houses, that's what I was kind of looking for.
Okay.
Not
Yeah,
to
we can give
have,
you that
greater
historical
tonnage.
data. Sure.
Yeah, just on average what that looks like. And particularly, I think, because I'm hearing that your mode of advertising is social media, you know, some people aren't, you know, are there other means of doing that? Are you going in churches, bodegas?
We
How does that
typically
work?
advertise it with all of our other city programs.
Mhm.
At the moment, we don't do anything extra to kind of really make
What
sure we
about
get in the
double in
community.
Spanish and in Creole? Do you
Yeah.
do
We
it
do
in
have
different
it.
languages?
We do
In
have it in
Spanish, we have.
Spanish on the website.
Haitian Creole?
We haven't translated that one yet. But we
Okay.
definitely can work on that.
And is it just, I'm sorry, Ms. Young, you all finished?
Yes.
It is it anybody in the city, even if you're not signed up for solid waste pickup, can you still get the
So
yard waste, the bulk waste, I should say?
right now, you can't, if you are not eligible for the city solid waste pickup, you aren't eligible for the bulk waste pickup.
Okay. Okay, anybody have any other questions for Tom? Okay. Last item was upcoming projects. Mr. Mead, you have anything you want to share with us about hot new items, hot new projects that are coming along?
Yes, well, we are currently still continuing work on Lockwood and Heather, the drainage improvements. That work's gonna continue throughout the winter, and we're making very good progress with that. The contractor, despite the challenges that they faced, is actually slightly ahead of schedule. So as of now, we're anticipating still late in the year to be complete, but they're making very good progress. In addition to that, the contractor is also going to begin reconvene with construction on Beacon Street. The new sidewalks that are going on there. They're supposed to start tomorrow, but due to the rain, they'll probably start later in the week or early next week. And we have also, will begin shortly, they've already started laying out the new sidewalks that are gonna go on Richmond Hill Road, McAllister Avenue, and Francis Avenue. They've already started laying those out, and again, that will probably also start sometime early next week. That's in terms of construction at the moment. It's for this time of year. We've also, however, just recently advertised for new sidewalks and paving on Flax Hill Road from Highland Avenue up to Arbor Drive. And there will be some drainage work being constructed sometime in the coming weeks prior to which will precede our new project that we'll be getting back later this month.
Okay, good. Sounds like you'll have some work to do.
We do.
Does anybody have any other comments? Is there anybody have any more a motion? Ms. Dunn?
Adjourn.
Oh, okay.
Oh my
All those
God,
in
that,
favor?
that was the longest motion to adjourn I've ever heard. Come on.
It's not usually me.
Jeez, I don't know whether you guys were just all asleep or
Yeah,
what.
you don't wanna leave or what?
Jeez,
Yeah, to get her microphone on.
There you go.
Okay.
Else.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.